Hi everyone, Craig Cotterill, Commercial Director at the CMAE. I'm delighted to be able to tell you that we've renewed our agreement with Club HR, who have been with us for a little while now. And I was fortunate enough to catch up with Carolyne Wahlen, who was able to answer some questions for me on the future of her business and the future of the partnership and what they're going to do over the next 12 months to help you and support you as a club. So Carolyne, hi.
Hi.
As a business, you've established yourselves within the club management industry and very well known across it for the work that you do. And what do you think has been the secret to your success of establishing, building the business and getting it to where it is today?
Well, we started off in 2012 specialising in helping private member golf clubs. And I think it's really two things that have made us so successful. One is that we have specialised in the private member golf clubs. We know everything about the running of the golf club, what can go wrong, what needs to go right. And that specialisation, also understanding the interaction between staff, members, committee or board, all of that makes it a very unique environment that needs understanding and has different advice from a private sector company. The other side of it is that we are actually an employer-led advice. It's not about we have to protect the employees. Obviously, we want to treat them in a fair and reasonable way, but actually this is to protect the club and make sure the club is doing it in the right way so that they are protected, rather than saying, oh, the employees have all the rights and we have to make sure that they're okay. So it's getting the right balance between being legally compliant but also making sure that it works for the employer.
And of course, over the last few years, it's been well documented that there's been challenges for everybody, and clubs included. What have the challenges been for you over the last few years? What with COVID, with lockdown, with advising other businesses, but also you've got your own business that you're running. What's it been like for you over the last few years? Because I know you've been very, very active in supporting clubs, and I've been involved in that with you, and it's been brilliant. But how's it affected you personally and professionally?
Yes, it's been very interesting, hasn't it? It's always, there's pre-COVID and post-COVID. There is no other time period anymore. It's just great. Actually, it's with COVID and now with the cost of living crisis, for the business, it's been really good. I know that sounds a bit strange, but it does mean that employers don't have the spare time or resources to mess around with staff issues anymore. Pre-COVID, they were like, oh, I'll just deal with it, or I'll throw money at it, or I'll get the office manager to deal with it. I don't need to deal with it particularly well because, it'll just get dealt with. Whereas now everybody is short on qualified staff, everybody's a bit short of money, they're watching what they're spending. They want to deal with everything efficiently and effectively so that it's dealt with and it stays dealt with. And that is brilliant because it means that they see HR as an essential now. Great, rather than an overhead, which is what it was before. It's like, well, we don't really need HR, we'll be fine, we'll deal with it somehow. Now they realise, particularly from the COVID experience, with furlough rules changing every day, and it's not got any better with the cost of living and redundancies and restructuring, that actually we do need somebody to tell us what to do. Common sense is not the same as employment law, and people are really realising that nowadays.
And I imagine the clubs that you historically worked with before COVID were very, very grateful for that support and the guidance that you were able to give them through that time.
Yeah, and we actually did it, the Zoom calls we did during COVID, and actually the weekly Zoom calls we still do every Thursday are open to everybody who would like to come along to actually hear about ways of dealing with some of the horror stories at the clubs and at private sector companies, but also how to deal with it and to ask the questions themselves. Say, I've got this question, I'm sure it's really easy, just what do I do in this situation? And you can ask that free of charge, and then you get the answer.
And you get that reassurance.
The reassurance, you're doing the right thing, and it's not going to come back and bite you.
Absolutely. So you mentioned right at the top there about Golf HR, but we've been discussing over the last few weeks, and I know that your plan is to kind of, with the partnership at the CMAE, is to rebrand as Club HR. What's the sort of led to that change of direction in that sense?
Well, as you said, we're very established as Golf HR. We've been doing that since 2012, but that meant that a lot of people thought that we only did private member golf clubs, that we didn't do other private member clubs. So that's why we thought it would just be better to rebrand, to make it a bit clearer that we're there to help everybody in the private member arena, not just the golf clubs themselves.
Cool. So in terms of the engagement of a club, if I'm a club manager or a secretary or wherever I am in a position within a club, how does that club manager engage with you on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on an ad hoc basis? How does it work?
Yeah, so we have over 240 clients on retainer. That is how we prefer to work. There is the option for ad hoc, but most people start with ad hoc and then switch to a retainer because it's better value. And all of our packages are set up there and reflect the business, the industry that they're in, the number of staff, but also, more importantly, the number of staff issues they have. Because if you've got a team of 5 and one person kicks off, you're going to need a lot of help. Whereas if you've got 100 people behaving, you don't need so much help. So it does depend on each individual company's situation, what package is going to work. But that's why we have the different packages, so it's always the best one for their situation.
And that flexibility, I suppose, is important, isn't it? To be able to, when it ebbs and flows,
yes,
depending on the
exactly.
business need.
Yeah, exactly. Because some people come on board because they just want the compliance, the contracts and handbooks. And then a month in, they're like, oh, yes, and we just have a small staff issue. And so they can then upgrade to one of the higher packages for 3 months while we deal with it. They've got budget control and they get all the support they need. And then it's dealt with. And then they go back down onto their original package.
Okay. So from a CMAE point of view, we're always keen for our partners to be able to, engage with the members, engage with the delegates, and really give them a kind of crystal ball, if you like, a little bit, and for them to understand what the future might look like and what they need to be considering now for the next 6 to 12 months. Is there anything that you can think of right now that club managers were either now need to be thinking about, or whether there's any legislation changes on the horizon that they might need to consider?
Yeah, so the thing that's still a problem is getting good staff. It's finding good staff, it's making sure they come on board, it's training them, and then the key thing of retaining them. That the clubs were used to be really good at finding the good staff, but they didn't worry too much about keeping them because there wasn't a lot of competition. Now the shortage is so acute that other employers will come and actively poach the staff, and it's then, what have you got in place to keep people on board once you've got them in? It's not just a one-off, oh, we've won them. You have to keep them on board, and even if that's something like golden handcuffs, you say if you stay for a year, 2 years, you get this extra bonus to make it easier. But also it's the soft, squishy things, isn't it?
It's that onboarding process, isn't it, as well? As they come into the business, they feel that they've made the right decision, and,
yes,
and you're going to invest in them.
And that they're valued,
that
they're valued, they're appreciated, that they actually do have a future there, and that you really want them to stay there. They're not just one of many members of staff. So that's a key thing. The other thing is, obviously, because there is going to be some legislation changes next year, they haven't been 100% confirmed. Originally, the government was going to repeal all of the employment law that had come through Europe by the end of this year. Thankfully, they realised that was quite a lot of legislation they'd have to deal with, and they've got a few other things to deal with. So it has come down to a few, but again, it's not confirmed exactly what is going and what is staying. But one of the biggest things, if it actually goes through, and it's very likely it will go through, is third-party harassment. Now, this was originally part of the Equality Act 2010. It was scrapped a couple of years later, but what it means is that the employer is liable for third-party harassment of their staff, which means, and that's legally liable rather than, well, we shouldn't let this happen, okay? And that means that for private member clubs, they are legally responsible for the behaviour of their members towards their staff, and they can be sued at tribunal for what their members do with their staff, which is why you need to sort your member disciplinary policy, your code of conduct for members out now, so that you've got it enforced and everybody knows where they stand before the law comes in, because you don't want to have your first example of this and having to deal with it once you can actually be legally sued for it.
And because of that dynamic within any club, whether it's a golf club, a private members club, a tennis club, wherever it is, you've got that dynamic between the staff, the members, and the committees and the boards and this kind of thing. Is there a perception out there sometimes from clubs that, oh, we're kind of too small for a HR function, if you like? And is that a barrier sometimes for you to engage with them or for them to engage with you?
It's not a barrier as such. It's interesting, though, what everybody defines as small. So we have clubs coming to us say, oh, we've only got 5 people, so a bit small. And then we have other clubs coming to us, oh, well, we've only got 30 people, so we're too small for HR. And it's like, but the reason they're all talking to us is because they've got a staff issue they do not know how to deal with. And then it's informing them that actually, as soon as they've got 1 employee, they have to follow full employment law. It's not like health and safety. It's like after 5 employees, then you have to do lots of stuff. Yeah. You have to do it from the first employee, and you need to do this, and there are ways of doing it. That's why the point is having those different packages so they meet the different needs. But we need the expert advice to deal with this staff issue quickly, because as we all know in private member clubs, there's going to be half the membership on the side of the employee and half the membership on the side of the employer, and you do not want to have those emails coming in at 1 o'clock in the morning repeatedly saying you can't do this and you shouldn't do this and they're lovely and everything. You need to deal with the situation really quickly, really efficiently, and obviously legally, so that you can go, this has been dealt with in a fair and reasonable way. Thank you for your concern. Now go and enjoy your membership of the club.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So in terms of the CMAE, I mean, the great news is that we've just renewed our agreement with you to be partnering with you for another year. Where do you see the value in partnering with us as an association, and what does it bring to you as a business?
It's a huge thing for us to partner with you, because you have this reputation for excellence, for professional qualifications, for making sure that people know what they need to be doing and they've achieved these high standards in all of your qualifications that you have that are recognised worldwide. So it's a huge thing for us to be in that arena, getting to those people who do want that excellence and that supporting you in that education journey.
Brilliant. Well, we're looking forward to the next 12 months with Club HR,
yes.
And let's hope that the next 12 months brings you more success and the team more success. And we hope that we can help with that and support that and promote you to our members all over the UK, Europe, and the Middle East.
Yeah, thank you. We're very much looking forward to it.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching. If you want a free tribunal audit of your employment contract and handbook, click the link in the description below.